Hello,
Good.
everyone. Welcome to
Hello,
Not Just
hello.
a Thing.
Hey,
So,
Ting, how you doing?
hi, Mickey. I know that we have not invited any guests today. And the reason
Oh,
why is because we want to plan our year of what we are going to do with you.
hmm, I like this. So this is sort of the year 2021. It's a new year. We learned a little bit about some ideas last year, and you've been sort of teaching me through the course of the Not Just a Thing show a little bit of how to think about this from a behavioral science standpoint. So today we're going to focus on the arc of the show. Tell us a little more about this, or do we want to share with first-time visitors who are watching a little bit about what Not Just a Thing is? Maybe we could give them an overview.
Absolutely. So, for those who have not seen any previous episode, this is about redesigning everyday objects for better health, happiness. And we use a special game format. It's a slot machine. And each slot gives you a crisis, two things to redesign for under three constraints: technological, social, contextual constraints. And we really try to leverage science, design thinking, art, and tech to see how we can redesign objects and not treat them just as things, but as supportive
Hmm.
tools for better habits.
I think that's great. I mean, I think the idea here is that things are not just things, right? Things shape us, and we shape them. And it's not just things; it's things and places. Context matters. And now that these things are starting to get connected, right? We've got
Mhm.
the voice speaker, and we've got the things are not just things anymore too, because they actually have little machine learning running in them, and they can sense and change things. The thermostat can decide to make me colder in the room. They can shape what we do. And I think a lot of things are benign; they just are. But
Mhm.
but some things might actually have different goals than you have for your life. They might be trying to serve a goal of a company that gave you that thing. Uh, you know, and some things might actually help reduce our well-being and health and happiness. And some things might actually help us. Like we might be able to enlist things and places because we can't do it ourselves. And I think that's really the crux of what we're trying to do for this show. Tell us a little bit about what you want to do this year, though, Ting. Like, what's on your mind about this for this year?
You know, some of the fun ideas that came up in last year's episode, if you remember, quite a few of them were redesigning toilet papers. And I when I thought about, the toilet paper can be, something that you write grumpy thoughts and, getting rid of them before going to bed, or writing your loved ones like a very sweet note, and maybe even a note of gratitude, or a note of just like, hey, here's a piece of music that I prepared for you, and you actually set it up so that when he's like, he or she, your partner, is sitting on the toilet, he's gonna listening to your music while reading your toilet paper note. Some of these ideas are really low tech, and it also speaks to some of our daily routines. So for this
Hmm.
year, I think it would be really wonderful if we zoom in a little bit more to routines, because
Hmm.
our 24 hours really consists of those moments. And when we think about um, why we earn money and why we try to be successful, in a way, these are really means for the end. And the end is about creating these meaningful life experiences, meaningful
Hmm.
moments in life. So instead of waiting for like retirement or someday that you're gonna try to
Hmm.
really improve these moments, why don't we just get right into it and just redesign the moments already, from now on. And some of them, as you might see, that does not require a lot of money or resources. You
Hmm.
could have a good moment without, needing any
Well,
extra resources at all.
I like this framing. It's that notion that the reason we're trying to earn money is not for money's sake. You can't eat money, and it's not for power's sake. Although maybe for some people it's, but it actually isn't very rewarding just having power for power's sake or money for money's sake. Those people who have lots of money and power are not necessarily happier or healthier or have a better sense of well-being. They kept
Right.
questing for it because it's like an end point. It's like, if I could only become that. Instead, they didn't learn the habits, and they didn't have any things or places that were really helping them, or even how do they interact with others, to find it every day, to find it in these everyday routines. And I love this idea of, like, the reason maybe some of the episodes had to do with toilet paper might be because everybody has to go to the bathroom or go to the restroom.
Yeah.
And so it's a daily routine. It's like a thing.
And it's a missed
A
opportunity
lot of
if we
times
don't.
we kind of, we don't want to talk about that. That's a private thing, or that's a whatever thing. So that means these things don't really get designed, or they're designed for one function and they miss the other function that matters. It's a missed opportunity. So
And if I may
tell
add
me
sort of
about this
one more
content and
thing, yeah.
grumpy. Tell me about this.
Uh,
What's that?
that's right. So, two things that I want to share with you, Mickey. One is that during the pandemic, I discovered that by leveraging behavioral science, I redesigned my everyday life. That I was living every
Hmm.
moment so with so much joy and gratitude
Hmm.
that I didn't feel like I need to earn more money. I mean, of course, I'm in a very luxurious position of having enough savings to afford, not overthinking about money. But um, the 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 unlocking of a lot of the intrinsic drive after I feel content and grateful, getting rid of all the unnecessary stress and anxiety, was able
Hmm.
to unlock so much creativity and productivity in my daily life. So I think there's this kind of chicken and egg, which sometimes
Hmm.
we mistook that unless we're under a lot of pressure, we're not gonna get creative or not get productive.
Hmm.
But the if we kind of you know look into scientific findings, that's actually just a myth. It's not true, right? So I think
But for
really
yourself,
getting
just for
yeah.
you, I'm curious. I mean, did you feel like you discovered something last year during the pandemic, just that actually helped you? Even though you're a behavioral scientist, economist, you understand this stuff, but did you discover something for yourself during the quarantine that kind of helped you unlock something, or
Yeah,
or maybe appreciate it even more? What are we looking at?
I ended up creating a lot of little games for my daily
Ah,
life. This is
interesting.
one of them. This is the dinner
Okay,
game.
the dinner
And
game.
then the dinner game. And I can kind of
Yeah.
share with you the 10 scientific articles that prove that gratitude is good for your health, good for everything, good for your relationship, even good for workplace, employee, employer,
Well, explain this
relationship and
game.
productivity.
I see
But
different people's names are on these
yeah,
glasses, and I
but
see
this is
little
one
pictures.
in
It
a
seems like
home
it's pretty low
context.
tech. Okay, and you played this
So
game with people?
I had so JW is my spouse,
Hmm.
and Sam is a friend visiting us, locking down with us, and the universe is what we also want to include. So I have myself, my loved ones, and the universe. And
Hmm.
the game has one rule. The rule is that the more points, the more gratitude notes you write that are accepted by the recipient of the gratitude,
Ah.
the better. So those are equivalent to your points, and whoever has the highest point at the end of the 24 hours will win that day.
Okay, so wait,
So
I want to make sure I understand the rules of the game. So that glass that says Ting on it has some
yeah,
pieces of paper inside of it. Did you put those pieces of paper inside of it?
from the others, from Sam and
Ah,
JW,
okay,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. So
So like,
we would each like write
JW
notes,
had to
yeah,
think about gratitude, that he had gratitude for you about
yes,
something,
for other people,
and he would
yes,
write it down and put it into your cup. And these cups were just sitting on the dinner table, so that I guess
exactly.
there was some round that happened at the dinner table. But so
Well,
he would write that.
we have to check
Yeah. Well,
because the
how
thing
did the
is,
game start?
you could just write gratitude. You could actually hack the game by saying, I'm just gonna write like 100 gratitude notes with
50
like,
gratitude
I'm
notes, right?
grateful. a pair of eyes. I'm grateful that your,
Yeah.
your hair is so beautiful. So
Ting
those
has
things are
fingers. I'm so grateful that she has fingers and toes. Yeah.
yeah,
So you could
absolutely.
hack the system, but what really happened in these games? Because you did it a few times, right?
So
And
the rule is that the recipient has to accept it and say, I feel
ah,
your authentic gratitude. And unless it's
oh, okay.
authentic, I will not accept it. So that was a bit of a moment of, the checking, right? The challenge being accepted. And
So when did
during
what?
dinner
So
time, we're gonna
you'd
read.
walk around for 24 hours. You'd write
Yeah,
notes of gratitude to the universe or to someone else who was sheltering in place with you. And then
yeah,
at dinner, would you get together and everybody would read them or decide if,
exactly.
and that
We
was
take
where the
turn.
kind of gameplay happened? So was it
Absolutely.
turn based? Yeah, take us through a dinner. Take us through what would happen.
So we sit down and say, okay, now each person is gonna take turn to read the gratitude note in your part, right? So you're gonna
Uh-huh.
read like, oh, this comes from, and we actually didn't sign. We just try to recognize each other's signature, but sometimes we also
Okay.
try to guess. Oh, like
Yeah.
somebody says,
Oh, I
hey,
think this
thank
is,
you for that
yeah.
hug, and you know that some who gave you the hug today, right? Or
Yeah.
thank you
Okay.
for that deep conversation. And at times we would be like, oh, thank you for the laughter, but which laughter did you refer to? And then the person who shares gratitude will repeat or elaborate, that
Okay.
gratitude orally. And that was
Hmm.
really like a very touching moment as well, because and when you accept the gratitude, it's a moment
So
when
then
you
did
really,
you say something like,
you say
no,
I
JW,
accept.
you
Yeah.
didn't really mean that? Or do you say I accept? Like tell me what happened when you didn't accept. Did
Historically,
you not
yeah,
accept?
we did have, I think we had like one or two notes that got rejected.
Okay.
So one
Why,
of
what
them,
happened? What,
my friend wanted to write gratitude note for his partner for taking care of the cats, but they have four cats, and he writes one gratitude note for each cat. And it
oh,
was,
that's just
you
cheating.
know,
Yeah. So you guys
yeah,
just, was
but
that fun?
that
Even rejecting it? Was
that
that a fun
evening
part of the
we
dinner?
had we had on average, people who are really like very careful with each note would write on average like 10 notes. But
Hmm.
there's also like 37 note was the record for within 24 hours. There was one person who was able to write 37 notes. We have had multiple friends kind of playing this game by now.
But
And
37
so,
notes that got accepted.
yes, that got accepted.
So what did, how did you signal that it was accepted or rejected? So you could
You
tally
read
this
it
up at
and the
the end
other
of the dinner.
person would just say it, and then we just make, we just keep track of it. So you say it, you say, hey, JW, or JW would read this no, and this come from Ting, and he was like, yes, I do accept that. And then by the time that he said yes, I accept, I gain 1 point, right? But I'm
So
writing
you'd
it to
say, okay, I
multiple
got a
people.
point.
Yeah,
I got it. Okay.
yeah, I got a
And then
point. We
how does
track
it
it.
end? Because could people now give you new gratitude notes, or is it just no, that 24 hours is up, now it's dinner time and we're going through them? Because otherwise I could imagine people hacking right
We
then. But you
were
just
we were tempted. We were tempted to add, but it was not possible.
no. Okay.
Because we want them to kind of write down during the day. But
During the course
it's
of the day.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it's okay if you add orally, like, oh, by the way, I'm also grateful that I forgot to write it down, right? So
So
the point is not.
who was the acceptor for the universe? Who said I
We have
am
to
the
vote.
universe?
We
Ah,
have to.
okay. So
It's
how
a
did that work?
majority voting. I am the universe.
Does the
I accept
universe
the
accept this? Ah, interesting. All right, I like it.
yeah,
And what
yeah.
was the outcome? What was the outcome? And then let's talk about the science of it, because I don't understand why should I say thank you to anybody?
Mickey, if you don't want to be grumpy, let's just follow the grateful.
Well, no,
No,
no. Well, I'm asking because
I
I think
understand. I
there's a
understand.
part
I
of me who
understand.
thinks, oh man, I could totally just write incredibly heartfelt. I could do this all day long. I'm very good at faking like I care, and
Yeah,
I could totally win this game. But that's
yeah,
not what you saw actually happening. And tell me what really
yeah.
happened? Like the end of that evening, how did everybody feel? And what did it make people do the next day? Like was it more sensitizing? I mean, imagining it was, but I wasn't there. So I'm curious what surprised you or how did it evolve?
I the first time when I received went through my 10 notes, the first day we didn't go too crazy.
Hmm.
I was in tears. I felt not just satisfied with my stomach, but I was so satisfied with my heart. I feel my spirit was nourished,
Hmm.
was
Hmm.
showered by love. And
So it
even
was
though
a
I
kind of
knew
food. Yeah, nice. I
it's
mean,
a
it was
kind of
good.
food for the
I like
heart,
that.
and
Hmm.
it was so heartfelt that some of these details we knew that it took place. But the interesting thing is when something takes place in a more intangible realm, we
Hmm.
don't see progress when it's not
Hmm.
being
Yeah.
visibly and tangibly shown, right? When we kind of like gain like $5 like by accident in our bank account, I mean everybody would feel the joy of like, and it's a clear progress, in your bank account. But when we had
Ah.
just like harvested a little bit more gratitude, or even when we do feel a little bit more love in life, oftentimes we lack the way to tangibly feel the reward. And I think that's the missing piece that has
Ah.
misdirected us with our attention and focus. So as a result, I also created
Well, actually,
a
before you go
wall.
to the next game, stay on that game for a second. So
Okay.
I'm a product designer, okay?
Yes.
And
Yes.
I'm trying to learn because I actually think this is a whole new category of opportunity for
Hmm.
product designers, for architects, for interior designers. And for us, you don't need to be a product designer. Like everybody actually designs every day. You
Hmm.
design your dinner, you think through what clothes you should put on in the morning. We all put on this kind of creative helmet and or hat and kind of play. So now I want to look, what were the things that actually made this game possible, and what happened? And if I look, I see there were glasses, and that's you kind of took advantage of the fact that
Yeah.
at dinner usually there are glasses, and it's not uncommon to see glasses sitting on a dinner table. Okay, there were post-it notes, which made it very portable. It was low friction, right? You could just pull out a post-it and write it and fold it.
Mhm.
So you could do it. You could keep a pad of post-it. Did everyone keep a pad of post-its in their
We
pocket, or what
Yeah,
happened?
we ended up actually later on find different note
See?
colors so that we each stick
Oh,
to a color so we know like who has
so
what
Ting
at a
had
later.
one color. So this was an
Yeah.
evolution of it. But
Yes.
were people carrying the notepads around with them in their pocket, or did they go back to the table,
You know
grab
what
a
happened?
pad, and write
Yeah,
it
we
when they
we,
thought
we
of it?
laid
Like
them
what
in a
happened?
few spots, and mostly just
Okay.
around on the dining table,
So
because
it's sort
and
of
people ended
ambient.
up taking a break. So we had
Okay.
some activities going on, but in between breaks, people would actually
You could go sit
squeeze a
down.
moment. And of course, there's a last minute rush, right before dinner.
Yeah,
Everybody
yeah. But
was
it
like,
also, it
oh,
seems
tonight
like
at
because they
6:30,
were
is that right?
physically, yeah, it was like a last minute rush. But also because the things were ambient, they were in your spaces and places.
Yes,
They
yes.
reminded you, oh, we're playing this game. I can actually
Mhm.
reflect. I'm taking a break. So actually, it acted as a physical reminder. So what I actually love about this is this kind of embodies why even we want to do this show, and we want to invite people to participate in this and try these things in their homes, for their
Mhm.
lives, and report back to us, is because in a sense you just said there are all these things that happen that are intangible, and sometimes I think, well, I said I just really want to thank you for this, but if I said that in an email, and we know there are studies that like, people who read even gratitude in an email don't have the same impact as someone saying it out loud or whatever, or seeing
True.
their eyes. So what you're doing though is you're converting the intangible into tangible in the form of post-its. And then by actually having this conversation about it, it goes back into being an actually more powerful intangible. It's almost like it's going through this process. And I
Yeah.
think that's very powerful. So yeah, now what are we looking at?
And I just want to relate to what you said about tangibility. I now created a KPI that is physically present,
Oh,
uh,
so this
which is
this is a
love,
physical KPI. What's a KPI for those of us that are
key
watching and
performance
don't know?
indicator. So
Key performance
my
indicator.
daily key performance indicator, right?
Okay.
So if
Okay.
I have um, share a love moment, or I've given love to my friends, my husband, I would deposit a little smiley face into that jar. And
Okay.
so I do when it's like really good, it's like 5-star Michelin, level.
Yeah.
Versus like, if it's average, I'm just gonna put it as 3. If it's particularly low, I was like, okay, it was only 1 or 0 today. But it was just
Mm,
a way for myself to kind of remind myself that those things are the ultimate goals in life, and not money,
mm.
and not power, and not, success per se, because all of those were, in some sense, just tools to get to that ultimate love and peace, with myself, with my extended self, which is my loved ones, and with others in the universe.
So that I think to wrap this little piece up, and then let's talk about the arc of the year and get a sense of it. So I think for those of you who are tuned in, I think the key point here is what Ting is starting to do is she's making the intangible tangible. She's also embedding it into new routines, and she's playing with games and ways of doing this in a fun way. But she's also doing mindful reflection, right? Which we found is
Mm-hmm.
really powerful. Is that not only did you um, did you do it, but we stimulated this idea of planfulness about
Mm-hmm.
being reflective. And that's, sometimes that takes the form of people keeping a diary and just writing things down about like that reflection or whatever. But that structured reflection helps you actually understand how you learn. This is useful for learning too, but it's
Mm.
particularly valuable for gratitude, right? That structured reflection, so you learn that you learned, and that you also you can actually almost re-experience the gratefulness that you have in the form of that. And a lot of times we doom scroll, we just look at just all the things going on in the world, and it does make us grumpy, and the amplification effects of those things, we've never really learned good methods to actually help tamp those down and
Mm-hmm.
amplify this. And I think this is a method that we can use: planful reflection and mindful reflection, so that we can actually appreciate things every day. So,
And,
um,
and I think, Mickey, I think with more wearables and technology advancing, there needs to be a new series of products,
hmm,
technological advancement that should capture these intangible, less countable
yeah,
values, benefits in life that would translate directly into people's well-being. If we look at,
yeah,
how much depression and well-being crisis, it's a huge crisis. It's the number one crisis human being faces at the moment, and these
hmm,
are not just kind of sounds good, feels good. They are
hmm.
scientifically proven to directly impact our well-being.
Like, we know there's science
Not,
behind this, but it's not turned into action. And so there could be a whole category of products, even ways that architects design physical places, that actually help us, instead of just amplify the bad, amplify the good, and actually
yeah,
feel that. Tell us about what we're going to do for
help
this year.
us, yeah, help
What's our
us
plan?
experience. I think help us experience and express these KPIs.
Mm,
So we decided this year, Mickey and I want to take you through just the daily routine. We're gonna do like 3 months just on morning routine. um,
all right.
and January to March, April to June, we're gonna go into the afternoon routine. And when the autumn comes, we're gonna go into summer, autumn, evening routines, and then October, December,
Hmm.
we're gonna put it all together. So
What
that's
I
our
love
plan.
about this is
We're gonna dive
like
into it.
we're gonna go really deep on every day. You could actually be experiencing what a lot of people wait until they retire to experience, or never
Absolutely.
experience, or maybe experience but don't even are unaware. They're rushing through it, and so they're not savoring those experiences.
Mm,
And so that's what we're gonna do. And
mhm.
at the end of the year, we'll wrap it up. So yeah, tell us about the first, like literally the next episode, the next what 3 episodes, because it's morning. What are we
Yeah.
gonna do?
So first of all, we need your co-creation. This is
I
just
need
a
that.
rough,
Yeah.
plan. And here are some morning routines that I do. And we want your input as well. So we in our next episode, we're gonna redesign morning routines
Ah,
to help us experience and express love towards ourselves, because
So
that's the
next
very
episode is about
foundation.
ourselves.
It's about
We
ourselves.
actually have to learn how to have unconditional love for ourselves.
Yes.
And so next episode, it's going to be about ourselves. The episode of that will be about, our extended self.
Extended self with our
Okay.
people whom we live with, people who are
And then
close to
the
us.
last
And then the
episode for the
next
morning
would be,
routines is going to be what?
it's about connecting with people who are not like ourselves or different from us, which is
The other
other people,
strangers.
strangers.
Yeah. Yeah, it could be.
Strangers. It
The
would be
universe.
animals, nature, the
The
universe.
universe.
Yes.
All right. So what do we
So
need for people to actually send us? We need you just wrote your morning routine.
yes.
But what we want people to say is tell us your morning routines. Tell us for yourself, what do you do in the morning, over the time, and maybe give us your morning routines or even your old normals and some new normals that you've come up with,
Yeah.
during this period of time. We need you to email those to us. And where should they email them?
Good point. Um,
This is where you can email them, not just a
like,
thing, gameshow@gmail.com. And we're going to look through those. And also, hey, who we should we have on as guests?
yeah.
We've had
Who has
architects,
the
we've
best
had
morning?
behavioral scientists,
Yeah.
we've had product designers. Who would actually benefit playing the game? So that they actually went back and did better things or helped us do better things.
Yeah. And
So
I think
please submit
it
your
needs to be
ideas
guests who are open to exploring this new kind of KPIs.
in this playful
People who
way.
are
Yeah.
actually excited about harvesting more love and peace in life instead of being
Hmm.
stuck, with the pursuit of the means, which is money and power. So
Hmm.
it could be someone that you know very well. It doesn't need to be somebody famous. It
Hmm.
can be someone who just playful and um,
Or
appreciate life.
you'd like to see put on the spot and play a game, and you know that they're open to it a little bit. That'd
Yes,
be okay. Like,
yes,
oh my gosh,
that.
I would love to see this person like think about this or engage this,
Mm,
or someone who could give us just great insights, like that we are just two people exploring and hungry to learn about this, but we want to learn and meet new people and learn new insights.
yeah, for sure. And in our spirit, Mickey, I want to say how grateful I feel towards you for our last year doing the show together. It's just thanks to you, such an amazing human and mentor in many ways, that make the show possible. So I really feel grateful that we're doing this year together and continuing the show. And I'm grateful to everyone who is watching for the support. And we have a little um, New Year resolution
Hmm.
to fail more,
Hmm.
because we believe that we have been so stuck at harvesting outcomes, like focusing on the outcome instead of the processes. And when we're
Hmm.
so determined about one kind of outcome, which is success, right, and not tolerant towards
Hmm.
failure and chance and iterations, we become very cruel, very unkind in the
Hmm.
process.
Yeah.
And in this process, we lose so much the values and benefits of showing love, and creating peace for each other. So
Well, I love
so
that,
when
and I want to say though to you, Ting. So, and I just feel like this came out of nowhere, right? We were just having a conversation and sharing like, how could we do something playful about this? And I'm very passionate, and you as well, about our things and our places,
yeah,
and how they might change as they start getting connected. And if we just have more things that amplify bad things or have their own goals, we might be in real trouble. And
mm,
so I'm totally shocked that this turned into something that we could do regularly, and I just value so much. I want to just express my gratitude that this was sort of out of the blue, and I think it wouldn't have happened if we didn't say let's just experiment and fail a little bit. Let's just try
yeah,
it
that's
out.
just absolutely.
So,
I remember the
um,
one thing that you say a lot is like, we were looking at some of the earlier attempts where it was of course imperfect, it was full of failure X and failure Y, and you were like, that's okay, this is, we're here to learn, and it's these failures that would teach us something, right? So the embracing failure as part of part of the joy, part of the benefits of and the process, and being so kind to each other in this process
Well, also, I
was
don't
the
think I
best
would
thing.
have, but I think what's more important and why I'm expressing my gratitude to you is that I don't think I would have done this myself. I just didn't have the almost activation energy. And you did. You were like, you grabbed a hold of it. You're like, okay, this is it. Tune in. I'm like, and so I really appreciate that because you just took it and you said, okay, let's try it. But this notion of failure, I think, the best way I've heard it described, and it comes from learning science, is productive struggle or
Mm,
desirable difficulty. It's that notion
yeah,
that it's not, this hasn't been painful. This has actually been like, whoa, let's try it. What should we do next week? Let's,
yeah.
and so it was a struggle, but it was in the act of us learning and maybe learning every day how to do things. So thank you so much. This will
Thank
be
you,
a fun
Mickey.
year.
This will be a fun year with playful failures, and with, of course, the foundation that we take accept ourselves fully as we are,
Mm.
and we don't judge ourselves on failure, and we will continue to explore and discover more and bring more love and peace to everyone who is watching, and also for ourselves. See you next week.
Bye bye.